Cowboys of Wyoming have brought some enthusiasm back to the program. 7-6 last year. They defeated Fresno in dramatic fashion in the New Mexico Bowl. Double overtime, a 7-point win. Fourth quarter come from behind wins for Dave Christensen, who was in his first year last year. He comes over from Missouri thanks to Austin Carter Samuels, freshman player of the year. He's a great run pass threat. This team is very young on offense. They start 6 sophomores.
Yeah, it's up to his progression to see how the team is going to do this year. Carter Samuels can improve his passing and his decision making. Sometimes the ball just gets out of his hand, but you don't know how he gets there. If he can improve his play, this team can go even further than it did last year. When you look at running back Elvis Alexander, another guy that should have a breakout season at the tailback spot, sophomore, like you mentioned, and that O-line play will make or break the season. That's the key. They got a lot of pressure on Wyoming last season. If they can hold their own, this team could be dramatically improved over last season.
Well, the defensive line is going to lose three-year starters, so that's a problem. Safety combination of Chris Brzezinski, he was their leading tackler, and freshman All-American Shamil Gary is a good safety combo. Middle linebacker Brian Hendricks and DN Gabe Napton, 2 All-League performers, are going to try to lead that defense that still gave up a lot of points last year.
Yeah, they're young, extremely young, but also extremely athletic on defense. 10 freshmen or sophomores on the 2 deep depth chart. So that's a thing that you have to watch. They're young and they're going to get better as the season progresses. So that's a good thing. They get young and athletic on defense. Also, up front, look for them to have more of a gap control defense, which is going to help out their secondary. Because if you can control your gaps, you're going to allow yourself to get to the quarterback and stop the big gains that you're giving up in the running game as well. And linebacker Brian Hendricks is a speedy guy that loves to play downhill. So you get the front 4 to block up front. He's going to clean up all the mess and make all the tackles.
We're bringing you our 2010 Mountain West Conference awards and predictions. Let's start out with toughest schedule, and I think it's the Cougars of BYU. They host Washington week 1, but they're also at Air Force, at Florida State, and at probably 2 favorites in the conference, Utah and TCU. Pretty brutal for Bronco Mendenhall.
Yeah, that's a tough slate. That's what I'm going with as well, BYU. Because you look at that Florida State game last year, what happened out there in Provo, expect more of the same to happen probably in Tallahassee. That's a tough road game to make, especially that's one of the toughest places to play in the country, out there in Tallahassee. So they have the toughest schedule, I think, by far.
My best recruiting class, I'm going to go with BYU here again because they bring in Jake Heaps, who's very highly touted after they lose Max Hall, and they bring in Ross Apple, 2 players that will be seeing time early. So for the fact that these 2 guys can really help that BYU offense early and often, I'm going to go with the best recruiting class to BYU.
That's why I picked BYU as well. Jake Heaps is going to be a tremendous player. Can he step up right away? He's only a few months removed from high school prime, so is it too big of a stage? But tremendous talent. BYU definitely has the top recruiting class in the conference.
Well, best pro prospect, there's a lot of young players in this conference, but I'm going to go with the Utah offensive lineman. That's Caleb Schlotterhoff, left tackle. I think he could really match people, and when it comes to the NFL, he's going to fit in a good system, whether it's the left side, right side. He's very versatile too.
Well, I'm going with left tackle Marcus Cannon out of TCU. Guy that's 6'5", 330 with quick feet, a big dancing bear, like I like to call those guys that can move real fast and agile.
So Steve Lavin?
He's a big guy, 6'5", 330. Again, you can't have enough great left tackles. He's going to be a good one.
Well, I'll give you a water buffalo from the bayou. But anyway, our rising team, I think it's San Diego State. Brad Hoke is going to turn this program around with Ryan Lindley at quarterback. This guy could make the pros one day, and Rocky Long, defensive coordinator, he could really get that defense going. And the Aztecs seem like they're on the rise. It's a good recruiting base, San Diego. Great weather down there.
Yeah, I got San Diego as well, but also toss in Wyoming. Like I said, 10 freshmen and sophomore on a 2 deep roster. This team is built to sustain the success they had last season, so if they can clean up some of their mistakes, they're definitely on the rise. But San Diego State is also a team that's looking to get back into the top half of the conference.
Well, Offensive Player of the Year, you could go in so many directions here. Andy Dalton disappointed me a little bit. He's still going to be a great quarterback. You could go with the tailback, Jared, too, from Air Force. I mean, BYU's got players, Utah, but I'm going with the sophomore, Jordan Wynn. Loved what I saw last year. He's going to be coming on. I think he has a lot of potential, and Kyle Woodingham is really going to turn this guy into an effective offensive player.
I'm going with Andy Dalton. Again, anytime you have 4 offensive linemen coming back with a star left tackle, that's going to set you up for success. You have your 3 wide receivers back. You also have your talented tailback who average 6 yards a carry. Dalton's in the best possible situation, lead TCU back to a championship game. So I think Andy Dalton is going to be the player of the year.
Defensive Player of the Year, you can't go anywhere else but TCU. It's Tank Carter. He makes plays all over the field. One day he'll be in the NFL. I like Tank Carter as Defensive Player of the Year in the Mountain West Conference.
I'm going with cornerback Reggie Grimberg out of Air Force, a guy that, if it wasn't for the military obligations, he could be a first-round draft choice. He's talented in the punt return game, he's talented in the kick return game, and he also can get his hands on a lot of balls. And he's a lockdown corner, and playing at Air Force, you know he can tackle.
And now for the winner. You heard my Offensive Player of the Year. It's Jordan Wynn. I'm going to stick with the Utah Utes, Eddie White, Matt Asiata. Good offensive line. I know they're going to have questions in the secondary, but I think Whittingham could put it together. I like the Utah Utes to win the Mountain West Conference.
As much as I like Utah's coach Whittingham and to get that defense going around, I'm going with TCU, a guy in Dalton at the leader of the quarterback spot. Defense only lost Hughes and Darrell Washington, albeit 2 big pieces, but they have enough on defense. Not a lot of returning. You look at Utah only has 3 returning starters. TCU has a more complete team right now. I'm going with the Horned Frogs.
For more, visit footballgameplan.com/NCAA or visit us at youtube.com/footballgameplan.